I'm Shahar Azani, and welcome to this JBS special, Eye on Israel, from Israel. We have the pleasure of being today in Nazareth, in the northern parts of Israel, sitting at the studios of Nas Radio in Nazareth, a leading Arab-Israeli radio, and our guest today is none other than Mohammad Majadleh. Mohammad is the head of the news division at Nas Radio and a leading commentator and pundit on Israeli media, discussing Arab-Israeli affairs, politics, and society. Mohammad has risen to become one of the stars of Israel's media outlets in the past couple of years, truly ambassadizing the words and the messages of Arab-Israeli society to the Israeli public within Israel. Mohammad has also been prominent within Palestinian media, working in Ramallah, being interviewed with Arab media outlets like Al Jazeera, and working with leading media outlets all over the world. And I have the great pleasure of sitting with him today. Such a pleasure to be hosted here, Mohammad.
Thank you. Welcome to Nazareth.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, first of all, Nas Radio is relatively new.
Right.
What makes it so special?
Well, first of all, we trying all the time to talk to the both societies, the Israeli, the Jewish people, and the Arabs here in Israel, and we are trying to connect people all the time. And if you look here, you will see, kind of a lot of people from all over the Arab society in Israel. And we are trying all the time to build a new kind of media in Israel. Because the Arab media all the time is talking about the inner issues in the Arab society. We are trying to build something new, to connect the Israeli media with the Arab media, Hebrew and Arabic, and to interview new people from the Arab world, from the Arab society, and from the Israeli society and the Israeli media. And we are kind of trying to build this, and we are doing well.
Yeah, I have to tell you, as you're discussing Nas Radio, I'm thinking about you. Because in a way, this encapsulates what you do. You are a prominent voice.
Right.
I remember as an Israeli that to understand what's happening within the minds of Arab Israelis, you listen to security experts who sit in the studios. And then in the last couple of years, here comes Mohammad Majadleh, who sits on Channel 12 News, main media outlets, on the Friday night main news outlets, and finally we're hearing what's happening from within. How did you come to be that voice?
First of all, the Israeli media for years talked about the Palestinian and the Arab society here in Israel. They tried to analyze us, and the member of Knesset talked about the Arab society,
right,
from their point of view, from the political point of view. And the analysts that was in the IDF or another, in Shabak and another places, that they tried all the time to analyze the Arab societies. But the Israeli media, all the time, maybe they didn't try, and maybe the Arab society didn't make a lot of effort to try to talk even to the Israeli media. And I think that in the past 2 years, something changed with the political area, with all the political, all the political discussions and all the that for the first time there's an Arab party in the coalition, the Israeli coalition, and all the hard views that we saw in the past year when we say in May, and this situation was kind of I would say the Israeli media tried to understand really, for the first time maybe, what's going on in the Arab society, and this changed all the game, I think so.
But you, Mohammad, you're talking about the changes of Israeli perspective, the need of Israeli media to understand. But what positioned you specifically you, with your media background, you worked in I-24 News.
Right.
You worked for Musawa channel in Ramallah, in the Palestinian areas. You were working with Al Jazeera. So what positioned you to be that voice? How did you come to be that voice?
For years, I worked with international Arab media.
Right.
And after that with the Palestinian Arab media. And when you sit in Ramallah and you see your society, the main situations, and you can't ignore that you are part of this country, okay, of this situation. And I think that one day I just watched the Israeli media, and one of the analysts trying to explain what the Palestinian, what the Arab thinks about something, it was totally wrong. And I say, it can't be like this, something needs to be changed.
How do they not get it?
Yeah. And I think that I said the first time they will invite me to the Israeli media to talk, I will try to do it. Because before I say it all the time, no, I just want to work with the Arab media and something like that. And I think that the first time maybe was that I created a Twitter account.
Right.
And I say, okay, this is the time. I think that Netanyahu just visited Nazareth 2 years ago. And all the analysts talk about the Arab society and how they are welcoming Netanyahu, something like that. And I said, I wrote a tweet and I said, okay, this is the place that Jews are talking about Arabs. I will talk to you this time, so listen to me. And,
From there it took off.
Yeah.
But I have a guess, and our viewers don't know that, but I think it's very important to mention. You're not the only trailblazer in the family. Your father, Mohammad Majadleh, was actually the first Arab-Israeli minister in the government serving under Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, and was Minister of Culture and Science and Sports. So he's already started to pave the way for Israelis to be accustomed to see prominent Arab Israelis in the government. And government and media, politics and media, they're not too far apart. And here is his son, a couple of decades later, and he's a trailblazer in the Israeli media. How did that experience, your father's experience, influence you?
When we talk all the time, I say to him, you did your job in the politics, I'm doing my job in the media.
Right.
So, there's no doubt that I just, involved all the time. From a young age, with all the political situations that we have with my father, and I all the time also, to be part of these situations, to be also to listen to the criticism from the people and something like that. So I tried all the time to search how to explain something.
Right.
What the truth is.
Right.
Who's right? The Arabs that in the Zionist parties, or the Arabs that in Arab parties?
Because your father was part of the Israeli Labor Party.
Right. So all the time, you're kind of with dealing with this with the situations. So maybe this is the main thing, or the main thing that pushed me to try to explain, or maybe to do, or to learn, or to search how you should actually try to analyze this situation. To be Arab citizen in Israel, it's so hard situation.
That's also something that a lot of our viewers, when you understand the Israeli experience. So first of all, within Israel, there is this assumption that all Israelis are of a certain kind, or all Israelis are Jews. So I can see it many a time that people don't even realize that Israel is composed not only of Jews, and even within the Jewish community there is a lot of diversity, but your specific identity as someone who is an Arab Israeli who worked in the Palestinian territories. So I'm just wondering, how were you viewed within the Palestinian territories being an Arab Israeli? And how are you viewed in Israel being an Arab Israeli? And how are you viewed in the international Arab media being an Arab Israeli? It's a very conflicted identity.
Right, yeah. first of all, yeah, I agree with you. There's a conflict all the time. I say it's circles. So you are Israeli citizen,
right?
You are with a Palestinian, you are part of the Palestinian people, right. And you are Arab, Muslim. So all this together is kind of all the time conflict. And there's no doubt you are facing it all the time, every day. I say all the time to my friends, to be a Jew in Israel, it's not really problematic.
Right.
But to be Arab in Israel, right. It's kind of, you are all the time just living in kind of conflict with yourself, with your country, with your all around the people with you. So yeah, it's kind of really. You are facing a lot of situations that you are not dealing all the time with.
So a lot of challenges,
yeah,
but also a lot of opportunities. And what I see you doing is leveraging that opportunity, because with your specific skills and identities, you're able to understand the Israeli Jewish mentality very profoundly. But at the same time, you know exactly what's happening in the minds of, Arab Israelis. So you're an ambassador. You ambassadorize the Arab Israeli society to a lot of Israeli Jews, whom I hear today. When people heard I'm going to have this conversation with you, came up to me and said, tell him he's doing a great job. Tell him I enjoy listening. I don't always agree with him, but I understand where he's coming from. This is huge. In many ways, you're transcending new boundaries.
And it's make it even harder, because you are trying to say the truth to the both sides. And you say to the Arabs, listen, there are some problems here. This is the truth, right, from my point of view. Right. And you're saying the same thing to the Jewish people. And not all the time the both sides want to hear that
criticism.
Yeah, and that criticism of,
And I'm not even saying anything about the Palestinians, because you were in Ramallah, right?
Yeah.
And how do they view your Israeli identity in Ramallah?
In the West Bank, in Ramallah, you will be the Israeli Arab.
Right.
And in Tel Aviv, or in the Israeli media, you will be the Arab Palestinian.
Right.
So you are all the time not in the mainstream, that you can feel comfortable with all this atmosphere that you are right. And this is kind of, or maybe part of your identity. You are feeling all the time that you are minority all over the world.
But your challenge, you've turned it into an opportunity, and you're uniquely positioned, especially at this time, because just like you alluded to a few minutes ago, we live at one of the most revolutionary periods in Israeli history. Mansura Basha, the head of the United Arab List, Islamic movement, who, in the last couple of years, the relationship with current Prime Minister Netanyahu and then Prime Minister Netanyahu, during that visit, when he came to visit him in the Knesset, I'll never forget the headlines when the media outlets in Israel, what happened? That the Israeli Prime Minister is, attending this session presided over by Mansura Basha, and then having such a trailblazer political leader. And you live at that time, with those multiple identities. How do you view Mansura Basha from your perspective, and how is he viewed by the Arab Israelis?
Okay, first of all, there's a lot of different voices, or a lot of, I will say, Mansura Basha as a person, okay, right, as a political leader, is so controversial in the Arab societies. That means that there's a lot of people that believe in his way, in his political point of view, and there's a lot of people that totally can't agree with him. And this is what makes him maybe a different leader. He's not trying to convince all the Arabs in Israel, but he says all the time, I want to represent those people that believe that the Arabs is part of Israel, and we will be here all the time, and we'll be, and we need to be part of the government or the coalition. And this is maybe new, and maybe a new political test, okay? But
by the way, very different from when you look at, the old-fashioned Arab-Israeli politicians who seem content to sit on the opposition side, every once in a while striking a deal with the politicians of the coalition, with the government, but they're always on the opposition, making a voice. And here Mansura Basha comes and says, you know what? I understand the issues. I want to make a difference within my society. In a way, not because their political paths are identical, that's what your father was trying to do, have an impact within Arab-Israeli society for Arab Israelis.
That's right, and the difference here is that we are talking about the whole party, and when an Arab party decide to be part of the coalition, it's kind of different. So that's why I think the other Arab parties that just few months ago was in the same party, joined in the same list, the joint list, they feel that there's something wrong here, and this is the reason maybe that can explains why we see all this bad feelings between all the parties. So Mansura Basha from this side, he tried to create a new path or to create a new dialogue with the Israeli.
But he did.
He did. But there's no doubt that he did something new. I think it's too early to say if he succeed or not.
Well, the path has been broken. Whatever happens,
that's right.
We've already been through this situation where he was part of a coalition. In a way, you can't turn the hands of time backwards anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But when you look now to the new government, and when you look now to Lapid and Bennett government, you'll see that this situation with the government or with the coalition that Mansura Basha was part of it was so, first of all, so short.
It was,
and even there's a lot of voices in the Israeli society that think it was a mistake. So I think there's a lot of work that.
There are also a lot of voices.
That's
view
right.
This is an incredible achievement.
Right.
Who are optimistic about, because in Israel the issue of governance, as they call it, or law and order, has been very prominent in the elections, and people are concerned. But at the same time, Arab-Israeli society has been plagued with these issues of crime. You yourself, Mohammed, lost two of your friends in the past year as a result of this kind of violence.
Right.
And in order to solve this violence, you have to have support from within. This is what Mansura Basha was offering.
The government, there's no doubt that this government or the past government tried to do a lot for all the all the issues of the Arab society in Israel. In part of it, the government succeed. In part of it, I think it failed. But there's no doubt that we have something new, that you can see in this government from right wing and from left wings and Arabs and people that came from the Likud before. It was a really new feelings with the Israeli society.
It felt like really representative.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Haredim party,
the ultra-Orthodox, were not part of it.
No, part of it. But I think, it was a really good government from this side. But the real problem that all the government that the right parties, Likud, Datit, and all of that, they all the time just worked, and they even not tried to see the positive side with this government. Opposition. This is.
It fell victim to the politics of the day.
Yeah.
But I think that the overarching message of the fact that this coalition is feasible. You know what I remember, Mohammed? One of the most prominent moments in the life of the past coalition was when the budget was approved.
Yeah.
And you could see the interaction between Mansura Basha and the leaders of the ultra-Orthodox parties, and how many similarities you had between them and what they're trying to achieve in politics. And when I think it was Abbas who said, we shouldn't be on opposite sides, you and I. We have to fight for what we believe in. And there was mutual respect between them.
Yeah, and I think that this is minorities in Israel. All the time there's kind of solidarity between minorities.
So the ultra-Orthodox and Arab Israelis, very interesting.
And also when the ultra-Orthodox in this government, I think that they will be more comfortable with Mansura Abbas more than with the Yair Lapid or Merav Michaeli.
Right.
So yeah,
and vice versa, I would say.
Yeah.
Mansura Abbas will feel more comfortable with Shas.
For sure.
Right.
This is interesting, and this is kind of Israel. When you're looking at the Israeli politics, and you see kind of this solidarity between the minorities, you even understand there's a lot of the mutual things between people who's living here. Arabs and Jews and Muslims and Christians. So this is Israel, okay? And the Israeli politics going the opposite side, between to try connecting people. They are all the time trying to divide people, because there's a lot of what to do. There's a lot of politicians think that without dividing people, you will never
win.
Get a government.
But you feel that the people can see the direction. One of the striking, affairs of the recent election, which was very interesting for me to observe, was to see that the issue of Mansura Abbas's partnership in the coalition became a political issue. The right wing attacked it, Prime Minister Netanyahu's Likud party attacked it, and yet
the right wing that a few days ago want to go to the government.
Yeah, sure. But Mansura Abbas refused to take part in this war. He did not actively retaliate against some of the campaigns against him. He did not expose materials that he has, conversations that he had. He kept discreet. And you could see his long-term vision, because in his understanding, he said, I sat with those people, so I am going to maintain confidentiality, in a way, thinking about the future and bridges of the future. Is that correct?
Yeah, I ask him all the time, why you don't attack, and he said all the time, I'm looking for the long run. I want to create kind of relationship between the Arab political leaders and the Jews in Israel. And we are, and because of that, I have a lot of responsibility not to do what some politicians do in the Israeli Knesset. So, this is kind of, maybe you can say, responsibility, but it was so hard year and a half for Mansura Abbas and for Ra'am. So, I think maybe we are trying now to analyze what did Mansura Abbas before. But I think that there's a lot of things that he can, or maybe he didn't, because he want to save this kind of relationship in the future.
Right, that he could have done. Mansura Abbas is a great example of how we can look forward. But I want to talk about you for a minute. Like I said before, you are the voice of Arab Israeli society to many of the Jewish Israelis who have never seen such a voice. And yet, the rise of this government is very much attributed to the Guardian of the Wall operation of May 2021 and the violence that was seen in the mixed cities between Arab Israeli citizens and Jewish Israeli citizens. And then here comes Mohammad Majadleh, who needs to ambassadorize that reality. First of all, what's your take on what happened in May 2021 when it comes, to that fracture between Arab Israelis and Jewish Israelis, and your ability to send a message? What message do you want to send with this?
I tried all the time just to try maybe to explain to Jewish people, okay, that not all the conflicts here in Israel is about Palestine 48 or 67 or something like that. And maybe in the mixed towns, when your neighbor is not safe because of the violence, because of the crime, because of all the, you look there in Lod maybe, okay, or in Jaffa,
right.
And you go to the schools, and you should also visit the schools that in the other society, okay, the Arab schools and the schools for the Jews, and there's a lot of difference. There's a big gaps, and you see, and I say it all the time, when your neighbor is not safe, you will never be safe. So you need to understand that if you living well, and if this is your country, and you are the Jewish people, you have this country, and you have the police, and you have the army, and all of this. This is not the main thing. You need to prove to yourself and to others, to your neighbors, that you are trying maybe to let him feel, or to let him to try maybe to improve their lives.
Right.
Without this, you will never be safe. And
so what you're saying is, let me just understand. You're saying that a lot of people, including many of our viewers, I'm sure, look at the May 21 riots in the greater Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and you're saying,
it's part of it.
It is.
But not all.
Think about the frustration of these Arab Israelis vis-a-vis their own situation, and that frustration was a major part of what erupted.
You need to understand the Arab young people. They have there's no education. There's no maybe future for a good job or something like that. And there's a lot of problems and issues and conflict in the Al-Aqsa Mosque and in Jerusalem. So you see in this time that all the circles, what talked about the identity circles, all the circles just conflicted. And this is what I'm not trying to say that violence is good, okay? Right. But you need to understand why they are doing this, and to try to fix it maybe. And when you see that the Arab young in Jaffa and in Lod and in Ramla, or maybe in Haifa, they are not living the same thing with the Jewish, with their neighbors.
How does Arab Israeli society look at these incidents now?
I think the majority says that it was a lot of mistakes from both sides, and I think that the Israeli society, Arabs and Jews, maybe learned a lot from what we saw before. So I think we are beyond this, but
the problem still persists.
Yeah,
to be taken care of.
Yeah. There's no doubt.
I want to ask you something personal for a minute. The Friday night news is what we call, the bonfire of the tribe.
Yeah.
The one that everybody gathers around. Never have we had an Arab-Israeli prominent voice, and here you are, sitting around the table, one among many, sometimes 8, sometimes 6, to discuss current issues. Do you feel a sense of mission sitting there?
First of all, yes, because there's a lot of Arab people that sitting in their home and watching and want their voice to be there. But on the other hand, you are a journalist, so you are in need also to try to explain really what's the situation.
But this is a different perspective, because instead of reporting, you're giving us your perspective, Mohammad.
But even when you're sitting there, you must say the truth to your people also, not just to try to represent them in all situation, and maybe to criticize your society, your people, and this is a hard mission, So it was
probably nobody's happy with you. Those who are critical with you from within.
The Israeli will say you are representing the Palestinian, and the Arab will say you are sitting with the Zionists there in the studios.
How do you feel vis-a-vis the other participants? Like when you first did it, the first time you were there, how did that make you feel? Because nobody's done it before.
Yeah, it was a real kind of surprise, first of all, because of two things. First of all, that all the Israeli media said, okay, Arabs can be part of this discussion and well, it's good. It's not that bad
Right.
we thought before.
That experiment was a success.
Yeah,
Right.
and the other thing that people says, you know, after they listening or watching, listen, we learned new things. We didn't think that you are thinking like that or something like that. So there's a really a lot of I can say positive things or advantages of this mission. You call it mission. So yeah,
it is a mission. And when it comes to, you know, I remember listening to one of your interviews, and you mentioned that you don't sleep a lot. And you wake up very early, because I'm sure you're doing so much, not just here.
Today also.
But and then you meet the truck drivers,
yeah,
and the ordinary. What do you hear from them, from ordinary Arab Israelis? What do they tell you in that morning when you grab your morning coffee on your way to work?
I live in Baqa al-Gharbia, okay? It's a small city, not Tel Aviv or not Nazareth also.
Right.
And people all the time asking me, why you are not moving to Jerusalem or to Tel Aviv and something like that? So I'm answering all the time, you need to be connected to your, you know, to your people, to hear them all the time. And yeah, when I want to grab my coffee at 6 o'clock morning, and you say all the other people are sitting there, and you say, I watched you yesterday, and you say this. No, I think you should say this. And you're learning also all the time.
Right.
What the real people think about what you are doing. And when you are going to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem, you will meet maybe another situation or another reality, but the real voices that you can hear is here in Nazareth, in Baqa, in the Negev. So you need also to be connected all the time to those people.
Understanding that you're a unicorn in the Israeli media, being a bridge connecting populations and communities, can I say that you are the media version of Mansura Abbas?
Maybe, I don't know. Wow, that's we should think about it. Maybe. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to be this bridge, but sometimes to be bridge it's too heavy, you know?
Yes.
Because people all the time are just walking
over
and you need sometimes that kind of maintains.
Right.
So it's hard.
Today for me and JBS, you know, to have the opportunity to hear your voice, not just for the Israelis, not just for Arab Israelis, Jewish Israelis, or other Israelis, but for the American public and for the American Jewish public. I think it's one of the most important educational journeys that anybody could be on.
Thank you.
I can tell you on a personal level that I have been monitoring the situation very closely in the past couple of years, and it's truly, for me, has been one of the most encouraging rays of light I have seen in the region in many, many years, because you see real dialogue.
That's right.
You know, up until now, you know, for Arab Israelis for sure, but for a lot of Jewish Israelis, the only way to communicate the Arab Israeli psyche was through the security experts, and now they can see you, whether it's on stage, in the various conferences, or in the news. So I think that could be a great message to move forward, and really walking in the footsteps of your father. I want to ask you, are you optimistic about the future? How do you view the future? I know it's tough to use the word optimism in the current climate, but how do you view it?
Yeah, you know, naturally optimistic, I can say, okay? But when you look now to the situation, we're talking with the really hard days. When you say what happens in Jerusalem with the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and you feel all the time the atmosphere. I think that we should be optimistic, all of us, because after all, we are living here together,
right,
for more than 70 years,
right,
and with all the conflicts, with all the problems, with all the wars, after that you will be here in Nazareth, and you can talk to everybody, and they will know that you are a Jew, and there's no people that will try maybe to do bad things for you because of you are a Jew, and I really believe and I feel our situation that there's no Jews that trying to do bad things to Arab just because he's Arab or something like that.
Because you know that so many of the Israeli Jews hail from Arab countries and are part of that culture, sometimes in many ways more than they are to some of the European or Ashkenazi Jews.
I say all the time, to my friends maybe from the Arab world, that in a lot of situations we have a lot of mutual thing. Right. To talk about it more than me and another Arab from Morocco, maybe.
Right.
That's why I'm really optimistic by the end of the day.
Right.
Because there's a lot of reasons to live here together.
Right. You mentioned something in one of your past interviews, which I think would be great to give to our viewers. You mentioned a survey that was conducted within Arab-Israeli society. Would you wish for the state of Israel to exist, or if you were at the time, you'd wish for it not to exist? And the second question they were asked is about their Palestinian identity, and the answers were?
It was, I think, that more than 80% that say that they want Israel to be, they don't want to be exist.
Right.
That they are saying about themselves that they are Palestinian. So
here you have the contradiction in one.
And this is kind of it's maybe all what the conflict about. It's that you are not trying maybe to understand me, and I'm not trying to understand you, and maybe this is my mission also. That I'm trying all the time to explain what our Arabs in Israel or the Palestinians are thinking all the time about this conflict.
Right.
Because it's so easy to say all the time, okay, the Palestinians don't want Israeli people to live, and the Israeli people want all the time to do wars in Gaza or something like this. And this is the situation. No, it's not like this. Not everything is black and white. There's a lot of shades, between. And I think that maybe the most people here, Palestinians and Israel and Israelis, are kind of in the middle, that want to live here in peace.
Right.
And to be part of this, this country with the Palestinians, with the Israelis, but what we can do,
whether we have political disagreements or agreements, what you just said is one of the most important messages I personally have tried to convey, and I'm so happy to hear it from you.
Thank you.
Life is not black and white.
Right.
It's complex. There are different shades, different views, different people who embody those conflicts within themselves.
Right.
And with this note of great optimism, I want to thank you, Mohammad, for giving us the time and for hosting us here in Nazareth so graciously. We're proud to be here at Nas Radio and continue to listen to you, and hopefully to see you on different US stages soon, whether in writing or in person in different conferences. I know many of our viewers would love to hear your voice.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to us, our viewers, I'd like to say it's a pleasure to have been here in Nazareth, and I hope that you listen carefully to what Muhammad said and to the message that he's trying to convey, because this is one of the most important ones we can share, which is our shared humanity and our need for coexistence. Because if there is one thing that's not going to change, is that we are all here and live here together. And the quicker we understand this, the better it will be for all of us. I'd like to thank all of you for watching and casting another fascinating eye on Israel. We'll see you next time. Thanks again.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double high or more. Simply visit the JBS website at jbstv.org and click on the donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check to JBS, Post Office Box 360, Stamford, Connecticut 06904. Or you can call the JBS Pledge Line at 833-MY-JBS-TV. That's 833-695-2788. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. We thank you for your kind support.